Hello and welcome to the latest episode of Behind the Scenes of JRock's Pop Culture Revolution. Now, if you're checking out the latest episode of this, you know it's Wednesday night. I always do this Wednesday night before I go to bed. As we sit here recording this, it's about 9:20 at night. Okay, and I'm coming at you from beautiful, beautiful Long Beach, California. Doing this in my home office where I typically do it. Well, anyways, want to let you guys know as we do every Thursday morning at 8 a.m. We're going to roll out a brand spanking new episode of JRock's Pop Culture Revolution. That's a big show we do here. Every week we get together and we talk about some special thing having to do with pop culture. And this week we're doing part two of our Judas Priest special. Now last week for part one, if you guys tuned in, you saw that I did kind of a review and a breakdown of a new best of Judas Priest CD. It's a new greatest hits collection. It was just released on June 19th, and that came out last week. And I tell you, I've been loving it, and I really urge you guys, if you want to know more about the best of CD, please go back and watch part one of this episode. But again, so we already talked about the new CD, so I thought for part two, because when I did the research for part one of episode, come to find out that Judas Priest has been rock and rolling and banging our heads and all that for 57 years. So I thought, okay, let's talk some more about the Judas Priest story. So I thought what we'd do this week in part two is we'd go back to 1986, 40 years ago, when the parents of two Nevada teenagers filed suit against the members of Judas Priest and their record company at the time, CBS Records, and because their two sons had a suicide pact, and one of the young men, they made this agreement where they're going to kill themselves together, listening to Judas Priest music, and so no matter how you get around it, all around it's just a horrible tragedy. One of the young men um, killed himself instantly. Another young man, James Vance, as we discussed a little in part two of the episode that rolls out tomorrow, he tried to kill himself, but he didn't really succeed. He was greatly injured from the gunshot, and he lived for like another 2 years, but ultimately he died from his injuries. Just all around tragic, story. But if anybody was around back then, so the lawsuit basically got filed in 1986, but it didn't actually, make it to the courtroom until 1990. Um, and at the time, this predates court TV or anything like that. Um, Court TV would come kind of as a result of this trial and other um, celebrity trials that were in the news at the time. But at the time there was no court TV or anything like that. I think the closest you had to court TV was maybe the People's Court, because People's Court had been around since like the early '80s. But I think you guys get what I'm talking about. But again, this case I thought it would be interesting and fun to kind of look back on because in 1982 Judas Priest put out this album, Defenders of the Faith. I mean, that's what they literally became when they became the defendants in this case. I mean, they became the true defenders of the heavy metal faith. Yeah, sure. The year before, 1985, you had Dee Snider go to those PMRC hearings, but Judas Priest, I mean, they were being sued for their music. They were being blamed for the deaths of these two young men. Unfortunately, and I get it that the poor parents of these young men, what an awful thing to have to go through. But to try to say it was Judas Priest fault that these two men. I mean, I don't think Judas Priest or any rock band out there makes music for their fans to kill themselves. I mean, the band wouldn't be in business very long if they did that. I mean, again, as we sit here in 2026 and talk about this, Judas Priest has been banging heads for 57 years now. So they've had a pretty lengthy career. I don't think they got into business of making music for people to kill themselves. No, I mean, then nobody would be going to the concerts. They would have had a 57-year career. Again, all around, no matter how you talk about it, it's a tragic event. These two men ultimately killing themselves. And as we discussed in part 2 of the episode, sadly, I don't think when the parents realized when filing the lawsuit that their son's legacy would become, both the young men that killed themselves, that this would become their legacy, if you will, the very thing that they're remembered for, and how sad. And who knows what was going on in the lives of those two young men that they made this pact to kill themselves. But so often, if you go all the way back to the 1950s, rock and roll was believed to be the devil music. And when I say rock and roll, I'm talking about like Chuck Berry and stuff like that. I mean, it's just amazing. But heavy metal has always kind of been the scapegoat or a scapegoat, if you will, for things. I mean, I remember the notorious Night Stalker in Los Angeles when he was arrested. They found him wearing an AC/DC baseball cap, and that was the big story when he was captured. But he was wearing an AC/DC hat. He must have been a heavy metal fan. The AC/DC music, being a heavy metal fan, must have drove Richard Ramirez to become the Night Stalker. I really don't think so, but you get where I'm going with this. Another thing that we kind of discussed in part 2 of our episode is the way the media kind of reacted to this. Again, this predates a court TV, but a lot of the media were kind of hoping that Judas Priest was going to be found guilty. It was the case was sensationalized, and since the band was found not guilty, which of course Judas Priest, their record label, and the fans, were so happy about that. It was an amazing thing to think that this band that we loved was being put on trial for their music, saying that the music led these two guys to kill themselves, and specifically, they were listening to the Judas Priest album "Stained Glass," and supposedly they were listening to the song "Better by You, Better Than Me," and there's supposedly in the song subliminal messages where you can hear Rob Halford singing "Do it, do it, do it," instructing the fans to kill themselves. I don't really think that's what the song was even about, and fortunately for Judas Priest, they won. We're not going to get too much into the details. I think I kind of talked enough about tomorrow's episode that's going to premiere at 8 a.m. on the JRock TV network. And speaking of JRock, I want to congratulate my good friend, Tom Collier, the president of JRock Music Group. Tom also has he now also owns Castle Black Radio. They're going to, I believe, go by the name of Castle Black JRock Radio. So great for you, Tom. I mean, Tom is just doing great things in the music industry. Plus, he's still got his band held hostage. Tom tells me they're currently working on a new CD that's, I believe, coming out by the end of the year, or early 2027. But just to let you guys know too, of course, I'm mentioning Tom Collier because our little show now shown on the JRock TV network, as I said, on YouTube every Thursday at 8 a.m. in the morning. And I want to thank Tom for that, because since we've done that, had that great partnership with JRock, we've been getting even more viewers. And I can't thank Tom and the folks at JRock enough. And on that note, anybody who's interested in regards to Tom's band Held Hostage, they have their next live performance is going to, I believe it's on July 18th, and we're going to have Tom on my Make Some Noise show. We're going to interview Tom this Friday. We're going to record the episode, and it's going to go up, I believe, on July 14th. So be on the lookout for that. We're going to talk a lot with Tom about what's going on with Held Hostage and the radio station, the record company, and everything. He's got a lot of news to share with us. So stay tuned for that. I can't wait to interview Tom on Friday. it's been a while since I had a chance to sit down and talk. Tom, I really we used to have a blast doing the This Is Metal show, and I really miss doing the show with Tom. But we've moved on to other things. But one thing that remains is a friendship. Tom's been just a great partner, great friend to me, and I tell you, we talk at least 2 or 3 times a week, and I really value just not only his friendship, but he's always got great advice, and anytime I need somebody to listen to what I've been going through, or I need advice or something on something, he's always there for me, and I can't thank Tom enough. Now, also in regards to my own site, JRock's Babylon, we're coming up on August 2nd is going to be our 1 year anniversary, and I can't thank all you guys for following me and the channel and checking out all the shows. We could not really do any of this without you, so we do appreciate the support, and we hope you will continue to follow us. That's why we continue to pump out shows like this. I want to let you guys know what's going on. And so again, just right around the corner here is July 4th, this Saturday, my birthday. Now I bring that up because I'll tell you guys a funny story. I shared this with a lot of people, but when I was a kid, and this shows you kids will believe anything, but my father used to have me convinced that all the fireworks and everything was because everybody was celebrating my birthday. Well, sure they were, but they weren't really celebrating my birthday. They were celebrating America's birthday. And that's why I've always been such a patriotic guy. I born on the 4th of July, and I just every year throw a great party, have a barbecue, invite the family and friends over. It's always a ton of fun. I live right by the beach, so we get to walk down to the beach, and you can see the fireworks for free. I mean, some people actually will go and pay for a fireworks show, but like I said, the beach is right in my backyard. We can go and watch it, and we can watch it for free. So it's just a beautiful thing. Going to be turning 55. I hope everybody has a great 4th of July. So I don't know what you're doing, but and also this week I'm probably going to see a couple of movies. Believe it or not, even though I'm 55 years old, sometimes I still love to go to the movies, still love to get out of the house. Probably going to go see Supergirl. I think I'm also going to go see the Minion movies, the little yellow guys. They have a new movie coming out, so that's going to be a ton of fun. Now, before we wrap this up, I thought too we'd talk about some funny stuff. You never really stop and think about this, but like going out to a restaurant, sometimes like you can never really go wrong with In-N-Out, because they pretty much got the same menu. They don't really add too much, but they got all the classics, if you know what I mean. And you're never disappointed with an In-N-Out. I'll tell you, even in California where I live and everything's so high right now, you can like for $10 still get a whole meal. When I say a whole meal, I'm talking the hamburger, the drink, the fries for like $10. Now, even if you want to get the double, okay, you can get out of there with getting a whole meal for like $10, $11, and you're not gonna go too broke. Now, one of my other favorite places to go, though, I gotta tell you, El Pollo Loco. Make great chicken. For years when I was growing up, I used to love Kentucky Fried Chicken, KFC, but man, that stuff is just so greasy, and I don't love it anymore like I used to. In fact, it's been years since I went to KFC, but I always love me some El Pollo Loco. To me, it's a lot healthier than KFC. There's no denying that. But I typically get like the classic chicken burrito. You can never go wrong with that. I suggest going at lunchtime if you can, because you can get like a classic chicken burrito combo, which means usually you get like the burrito, small drink, and they usually give you like a bag of tortilla chips. And you get that for about, I think it's $6.99. And it'll fill you up. So that's always good. Now, bring up El Pollo Loco, and why are we talking about food? Because you're going to get a kick out of this. You know, for like the last 6 months, they've had these delicious like chicken tenders. Delicious. It was like the featured item. See, this is the thing about El Pollo Loco that I don't get. They got this, and then they advertise it, and it becomes a featured item. Well, the other day I went, like I said, oh, okay, it's lunchtime. I'm gonna get my classic chicken burrito. I did that, and the next day I was gonna go, and I was like, I'm in the mood for chicken tenders. No, I didn't see it anywhere on the menu. I was just there the day before, and so, and then that's another thing. When you go into El Pollo Loco now, most of them, especially here in California, where I'm from, because they got the $20 minimum wage now, a lot of it the staff is very limited. You only have the people working in the kitchen making the food, and maybe one person to help out at the front register. But now they got these little kiosks where everybody has to go and punch in their order, and I don't really like that because I prefer dealing with human beings personally. But that's the modern times. You got to do what you got to do. But I'm looking for my chicken tenders. Okay, and here's another thing about the chicken tenders. As great as it was. Okay, so you could get 3 chicken tenders by itself for like, if you got a combo, the combo was this: 3 chicken tenders and a drink for $12.99. Okay, why don't we make it a combo? Why don't you at least maybe give me some tortilla chips, like the classic chicken burrito combo? Why don't you give me maybe I want to get a side dish with it, like rice or something like that, or some or beans. Not an option, but anyways, we bring this up because yesterday I was in the mood for chicken tenders. Can't see it. All of a sudden, it was been the featured item for the last 6 months. Nowhere on the menu. So I asked the girl behind the counter, "Hey, you guys don't have the chicken tenders anymore?" Nah, that was just a temporary item. And I bring this up because I like the chicken tenders. Now I wasn't. I thought they could have had a meal, or besides charging me $12.99 for three chicken strips, give me a bag of tortillas. Give me something besides the drink for $12.99. Even the huge classic chicken burrito you get in the lunch combo is a lot bigger than the chicken strips they gave. Now, I was foolishly willing to pay $12.99 for 3 chicken strips, and I did it. But I'll admit it, they could have given you like a better combo with that. But okay, so now they don't have these chicken tenders, but I love it. Just loved. Don't know when they're going to get them back. Now here's the thing with El Pollo Loco. I never quite understood, because same thing happened with these chicken tenders that I fell in love with. At one point, El Pollo Loco had French fries, but they were only available at certain locations. So again, you have to search but El Pollo Loco, again, they did away with the French fries eventually. It was a limited time only. I'd love to know why it's a limited time thing, But when they did have the French fries, and they've had French fries like 1, 2, or 3 times before. Again, it's a limited edition thing. I don't know why it's so hard for El Pollo Loco to make a regular thing of French fries. Why it has to be a limited item. I mean, most fast food places have French fries. You go to Wiener Schnitzel, you go to In-N-Out, you go to McDonald's, you go to Jack in the Box. What's it so hard for El Pollo Loco to make French fries? They've done it before. Do not enough people know they have it? Do not enough people order them? I mean, I don't know. But when they did have the French fries, only certain locations had them, and then you had to find out where those locations were. And they were so good that I knew a particular one that had them. But then again, it was only for a limited time. So I just thought some of this stuff is funny. I thought you guys know how my week's been going. And please, so tune in next week. Or what am I saying? See, it's like, okay, it's almost 10 o'clock at night. So I've had a long day. I got up for work today. Like it's 5:30 in the morning. I get ready. I leave the house by 7:30, and then I don't get home till 6 p.m. I had a long day, but a great day, a great productive day. I love my job. And then come home and I record this before I go to bed. It's been a great week, folks, but I guess I'm a little more tired than I thought. So tune in tomorrow at 8 a.m. in the morning on Thursday, July 2nd. Can you believe we're already into July? It'll be the second day of July. And what a great way to start the month of July. And right in time for the July 4th holiday weekend, we're going to have episode number 36, part 2 of our Judas Priest special. And I saved the big reveal for last, folks. What makes part 2 of our Judas Priest special so special is I did it with a real good friend of mine, Mick Michaels, the guitarist and principal songwriter for the band Corners of Sanctuary. Mick is a great, super talented guy. He's a great songwriter. He's a great guitar player. I've interviewed him many times over years. So when I decided to do part 2 of the episode on Judas Priest, I knew Mick would be the perfect guy to reach out to do the episode. And boy, was I right. But I got to tell you, folks, there's a little hidden story behind tomorrow's episode. We had to shoot the episode twice. And both times came out really, really great. It was really disappointing, though, because we did it last Saturday initially, and it seemed like it was recording fine. But then when I went back to watch the tape, that we had recorded over Zoom on my desktop computer, the Zoom had frozen up and only got like 2 seconds of video. And again, as we're recording, we don't know any of this till I try to watch it back afterwards. And then I realized, oh great, we just wasted 30 minutes. So then I had to reach out to Mick and say, hey Mick, I am sorry, buddy, but just wasted 30 minutes of your time. But the Zoom kept freezing up, and so we got nothing. But Mick is such a trooper. I want you to keep that in mind when you're watching tomorrow's episode, that we had to then re-record the episode the following day, last Sunday. And thank God we did. I guess the first time was a great practice session. That's what me and Mick kind of laughed about. But you'll have a real great time. I always love having guests on the show. We're going to try to get more in the future. And just to let you guys know what's coming up next week for episode number 37, I thought it'd be a real fun episode to do on one of my favorite classic comedies of the 1990s. I'm, of course, talking about the movie Mrs. Doubtfire, starring the late and great Robin Williams. So stay tuned for that. I am Jason JRock Houston, the pop culture guy. I want to thank you guys for watching our show, because we are the pop culture king when it comes to pop culture. So thanks. We are the loudest voice when it comes to pop culture on the internet. So keep that in mind when you watch our show. I love doing this, and we'll see you again real soon. Bye for now. Be sure to have a happy 4th of July, everybody. Bye for now.